How many snaps did they run in the 14 personnel?
That's only for us.
100% of the snaps.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into 14P Fantasy. I am your host, Justin Wright. Today, we are talking more Dynasty strategy. Specifically, when should you actually buy low on a trade target? You know, everybody on Twitter or in fantasy in general will say he's a buy low candidate. But really, what makes someone a buy low candidate? You know, what are traits you should target at when is it a good time? When is it a bad time? If you saw the thumbnail, Sam Darnold, Panthers bought low, dumb. That was just stupid. I mean, we all know it. It's fun to make fun of them. But people do the same thing in fantasy all the time. Just because someone is not having a good season does not automatically make them a buy low candidate. So we'll get into that and what makes them someone to target. Before we do, though, remember, guys, subscribe to the YouTube channel as we march towards 1,000 subscribers. So if you're not subscribed, hit that button, hit the bell, like the video, all that good stuff. If you have questions, stuff like that, drop them below in the comments, and we will get back to you guys as soon as we can. All right, let's get into it. How and when to buy low. So first indicator, has there been previous success? And I'm saying, has there been a point where they were valued too high and now they are officially undervalued because of the current situation? Think guys, like Courtland Sutton, who has absolutely flashed. We have seen the ceiling of Courtland Sutton, and now his value is in the tank. Juju Smith-Schuster is another one who obviously has had a great season and is now being traded for basically dirt cheap as he enters free agency, leaves the Steelers, changes situation, does all of these other things. Previous success is obviously the best indicator of future success. Allen Robinson a few years back off of the ACL injury, obviously had a 1,400-yard season, got hurt, did terrible with the Bears that first year, and everybody thought, okay, this is it. That's the time to buy low. So those are the kind of things. I'm not saying, go buy low on guys that have never been good in the NFL. You see people say buy low on guys in year 2, year 3 after showing nothing in the NFL to that point. Laviska Shenault comes to mind. He is not a buy low candidate because his value is low. He hasn't been good. So what are you buying low on? That's what you need to kind of decipher. That's a huge piece of this. Another part to keep in mind is, why is their value down? Courtland Sutton, and again, we're going to use him as an example a lot here. Quick change in situation. And by that, I mean, Courtland Sutton went from, Joe Flacco to then Drew Lock and was obviously injured and then took over with Teddy Bridgewater. And that change in situation shifted his value. So we know, if he's out of free and away from Teddy Bridgewater, he has potential to explode. The guys like that, Juju Smith-Schuster had a very down year after a great season with Big Ben, and then Big Ben got hurt. Mason Rudolph took over. So those quick changes in situation that we don't anticipate can greatly, greatly affect somebody's value. Julio Jones or Calvin Ridley even, those kind of guys where, one of them goes down, teams shift focus to the other, and all of a sudden, would you look at that? They're not as good as they once were because the situation they thrived in has changed. So those are the kind of things you need to keep in mind. Random free agency signings, quarterback changes specifically for wide receivers due to injury, those can affect value and really, again, mess with perception of dynasty value for a lot of players. And then this one here is related to it when you're trying to buy low. If a player has had previous success, is coming off of a down year, do we anticipate that situation to change? Juju Smith-Schuster, obviously coming off of what was perceived as a down season where he was wide receiver 16, and then another down year this year when he was healthy, is now going to be landing on a new team. Allen Robinson having a terrible season with the Bears because he's not trying, doesn't like the Bears, he feels like he's held hostage because of the franchise tag. He's now going to see a change in situation. So guys that are hitting free agency, that's a huge piece. Or teams that, are going to be making a change at quarterback or change at head coach. Those situation changes can result in, an uptick in volume or work or production the following season. So identifying those type of guys, in addition to identifying situations that are going to change, is where you can also find those buy low candidates. Those are the kind of guys, again, you should be targeting when looking to buy low. And moving on, our last one here, don't buy low on guys that are, if you're a wide receiver, if you're 30 years old, that down season could have been the end. I mean, those are those age thresholds. Running backs, when they hit 25, 26, if they start to slow down and work, Todd Gurley with the Rams his last season, there's not a guarantee they bounce back. Buy low candidates are guys that are in their prime, right at the apex of or right before the apex of their careers, and just had an off season. Those are the kind of guys you look for. I'm not looking to buy Julio Jones off of an incredibly terrible year thinking, yep, he's a buy low candidate because he's going to bounce back in a big way. No, there's a chance Julio Jones just flat out retires. Todd Gurley, again, I just mentioned him, but he had that down year with the Rams. Everybody thought, all right, he's leaving, finding a new situation. Now he's in a much better position to thrive. And again, now he's dust and he's the free agent. Nobody wants him. So age thresholds, that's a huge piece of this. Age does catch up with players. Again, that's why older players phase out of the league. And lastly here, let's just talk about a couple options that you could look at as either good buy lows or bad buy low candidates for 2022. So 3 guys you can look at, and I've mentioned all 3 of them already. Juju Smith-Schuster, obviously he has previous success. He had a quick situation change, as in, he was dealing with Mason Rudolph at quarterback, and then he was hurt, so his value is already depressed. And then he's going to be changing teams, so he gets that change in situation that could bring in a return to potentially fantasy dominance. I don't anticipate it, but he's going to probably outperform his value. Another guy, Allen Robinson, obviously previous success, not so much a quick situation change. I mean, he's been playing with several terrible quarterbacks, and Matt Nagy's an idiot. So that has a huge factor here. But the big one is he's going to be out of Chicago next year, potentially tied to a significantly better quarterback. There's a chance he goes wherever the hell Aaron Rodgers is, and that's going to suck as a Bears fan, but whatever. So he hits all 3 markers there. And then again, he's not at that age threshold. He's getting there, but he still has a couple good seasons left in him. And then the other big one, Cortland Sutton, obviously has talent, has terrible quarterback play. The QB position is going to make a change there. It should be an improvement, although we thought the same thing this year. So he is one that's a little bit dangerous, but the ceiling and the athletic potential is there. You're just banking on upside with Cortland Sutton. And 3 guys that I think, probably hit some of these markers, not all, that people are going to tout as buy low candidates I think you should avoid. Number 1, Julio Jones. We talked about it. He is obviously, he has the success. He is in a weird situation with Derrick Henry going out and A.J. Brown and health and everything going on. But the situation is not going to change, and he's not getting any younger. Do not buy low on Julio Jones thinking this is a bounce back year. Another one that comes to mind, Laviska Shenault, we mentioned him. There's no previous success. Urban Meyer's gone, but he's losing work to Laquan Treadwell and things like that. So he's not meeting the criteria of showing any kind of flashes through 2 seasons. It's just, I don't think he's worth taking that flyer on. I'd rather have the 3rd round pick you're going to spend for him. It's not worth buying low on him. And then the last one, Zach Moss. He is tied to the Bills. The Bills do not like him. He's been a healthy scratch several weeks now. He's not very good, hasn't had a ton of success, and the situation's, again, not going to be changing. So right now, Zach Moss is not going to be a buy low candidate. You may see people, touting him in the offseason until the Bills draft a running back, and then his value is even worse. But don't buy low on Zach Moss. It's just not a good idea. Please don't do it. All right, guys, that is all we have for you. Again, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, like the video, help us get to 1,000 subscribers there. As always, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
How many snaps did they run in the 14 personnel?
That's only for us.
100% of the snaps.